Hey Springfield, it is Dominique Gabriella and you are watching Behind the Scene. And tonight we have Alyssa Galvan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I gotta say, this is so exciting. You are the youngest person that we have had on the show. So it's so cool. She's only 15 years old, guys. 15. And we just took some shots just a little earlier of her playing. And oh my goodness, you have such a beautiful voice.
Well, thank you.
So let's start with, how did you start? I mean, how long have you been playing? Only being 15 years old, how long have you been playing?
So I started in my bedroom, about 12 years old. I just pretty much got really big into Nervana and some of their older stuff. Like there's an album from Kurt Cobain called Montage of Heck. And I learned all of those songs on guitar. And I think the first song I ever learned was Polly by Nervana, and I learned how to sing with it, which came actually really naturally, which I'm very thankful that singing or playing was not very difficult. And I ended up just showing my mom, like, hey, this is me singing it, and she was like, well, that's not too bad. And so she ended up, we went to an open mic in Carterville, Missouri, a place called Dead Cow Saloon that's no longer around anymore, but that's where I started. And the guy that ran it just ended up basically taking me under his wing. Cause
how old were you then?
I was about 12.
Back then, open mic. Oh my.
Yeah, and it was very scary. Like I used to be very shy. When I first started out, it was like the scariest thing for me. And I feel like I've grown a lot since then. And I'm very thankful that Rob Elledge was the one who took me under his wing, and I don't think I'd be where I am without his support.
Wow. So who are some of your influences?
I really like 70s punk music. That's my favorite stuff. I like Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop is definitely up there. And Lou Reed. Patti Smith is a big influence on me. David Bowie, Johnny Thunders, Jonathan Richman. I like the 70s scene a lot. I like that punk music. I also like the 80s goth kind of thing, like the cool electronic stuff. But I like to listen to all kinds of music, but that's my favorite stuff. But I like a lot of the 60s, 70s, 80s stuff is my favorite. But there's a lot of newer music emerging that I guess I wouldn't necessarily call it like a red dirt country folk, like Sierra Farrell, Charlie Crockett, Willie Carlisle, who's actually from Fayetteville, so he's getting pretty big. Nick Shoulders, but that crowd, that's more the music I write, is more of the folk country stuff. But when I'm alone in my bedroom, I like to turn up some 70s punk music.
Wow, that is really awesome. So who really got you introduced into that kind of music? All of that kind of music.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have a wide variety of just really great artists.
So growing up, I used to listen to whatever my parents had on. A lot of 90s stuff. Like there's a lot of Nirvana, Foo Fighters, Cake.
Those are all
great. I got really big into those, but then over the past few years, actually in 6th grade, I discovered Iggy Pop and Lou Reed. Just a friend had told me about him, and I listened to him, and then YouTube is very nice when you're looking for recommendations and stuff.
Right.
So I kind of showed my parents some of the stuff I listened to, and they like it too. So
wow.
Yeah.
So do you just do solo, or do you have a band or anything?
So I played solo for the most part, but I do actually sometimes at shows. My friend Reed Burns will play cajon with me. Justin Cobble also plays harmonica. Sometimes just friends come along and they'll throw some instruments up there and we'll kind of have a jam, but I don't have an official band, but
a jam.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm not familiar with the names that you're talking about. You're not originally from Springfield. You guys live.
I live in Coral Junction, just right outside Joplin.
Okay.
But
so you probably played down in Joplin more.
Oh yeah, I've been venturing also into Northwest Arkansas a lot.
Nice.
Jenna Melnicki, she is pretty big over there in the Northwest Arkansas scene, and we've been working together a lot recently, and she's one of my favorites that I've gotten to work with. Yeah.
Wow. So you make your own music.
Oh yeah, I've got an album coming out pretty soon.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So when's that gonna come out?
So there's no official date yet, but if you track my music page on Facebook, there will be some releases about it. Pretty much I've been writing all the time, and so sometimes I'll write something and be like, man, I should add that to the album. So there's not an official date yet, and I still gotta come up with some album art, which I'm currently working on now, and an album name, but just kind of, it's just gonna be me and my guitar and maybe some bass and stuff like that for my first one. I just want to keep it kind of.
You're making your own art for your album?
Oh yeah, I plan on. I like to work with photography. I'm not very good at it, but I like to take pictures and stuff. And I got a bunch of equipment for Christmas, so I'm going to try and attempt to see what I can do with it.
That is really, really cool. I mean, it's very exciting, you know, being so young and just kind of dipping your toe in everything.
Yeah.
But everybody's obviously has a good reaction to you. You're already doing your first album, so that's very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. And my next one, I plan to have a full band behind it, and I want to just kind of experiment with all kinds of genres. I think maybe do a more rock album and then keep this one more acoustic and just things like that as I get older.
So what genre or subgenre would you kind of put your music?
So for this album, I feel like it kind of, earlier in the car I called it bipolar, because it's kind of, it goes, there's like a few really like country, like old Western songs, but then there's a few that you could make punk, and then there's a few that you could consider like indie rock and stuff. And I feel like, I don't know, I have no idea what to put a genre on it.
Yeah, it's so, I always hate asking that question because you can't really pinpoint.
Exactly.
But when somebody is, you know, wondering what kind of music and they don't know anything about music, you know, try to put yourself in a box. Try to put yourself in the box, and that's so bad.
Yeah.
But let's get to your first song, and we will be right back after that.
Don't be nervous.
Each morning I get up, I dive. Can barely stand on my feet. Take a look in what are you doing to me? I just spin on my knees and believe in you, but I just can't get no relief. Oh, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody love. I work hard every day of my life. I work till I ache on my bones. At the end of the day, I take home my heart on my own. I get down on my knees and I start to pray till the tears come down from my eyes. Oh, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody love. Every day, and I try, but everybody wants to pull me down. They say, you're going crazy.
And we are back. So now let's talk about the music industry part of it. Now, being 15, it's a little harder to get booked into venues. I know that because you always do have to have a parent there. How hard has it been for you to, get your foot in the door?
So I think most of it is laws in certain areas because certain venues have laws and restrictions where I just legally can't play there.
Mm-hmm.
And some, being under 18, they don't want to have any issues with that and stuff. But for the most part, I think I've had good luck, and I've had, as long as my parents are with me,
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to play at all sorts of like bars and breweries and things like that. And I'm just very fortunate to, I haven't struggled too much with getting my foot in the door,
Mm-hmm.
but there are certain places that are like, hey, we just can't have you, and I understand that.
Right. Now, how we met you was at the Blues Society's event that they had over Christmas, was like Rocking the Blues Away, or for the homeless. I forgot which organization it was for, but that's the first time I saw you, and I wasn't able to actually see a set of yours since we had to leave. Now, how did you even get involved with the Blues Society of the Ozarks?
So I was playing an event, and the Uncle Buster band
Yes.
was actually before me, and they stuck around to hear me. And George Hunt, the main guy in the band, actually talked to me and was like, hey, like, we really like you, and we think that you should come out to a jam sometime.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, I think in October, and I played a set, and they liked me, and they talked about me working with the organization and stuff. And then I ended up being there that night that you guys were there for the benefit. And that was the second time I was there. But I think that George Hunt just found me, and he was like, come out. And so I was like, yeah, I'll come out. I've never been a part of something like that. And,
Wow, how was that for you?
it was very scary at first.
Uh-huh.
The Shuffle has such a big stage, and these big names in the Springfield music that really know what they're doing, really have been working at it a long time. And it was nice that they enjoyed me, and it was nice that they wanted me out there.
That's so
Really
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah, you got to definitely network with some other
Yes,
people.
for sure.
And for a good cause,
Yes,
too.
yes.
So that's really exciting. So what kind of advice can you give to other young musicians that are just trying to start out and don't know where to go,
I would say open mics.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most, if I had never, some musicians, I feel like they'll go to a few open mics, but then they feel like, well, you're not getting paid, so there's no point to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have missed so many opportunities if I hadn't gone to open mics. I've met so many amazing people just running it or just playing there, and I think that really grows you as a musician. So if you're around my age, just have a parent or a guardian or somebody take you to an open mic, because it really drives you further. And I think playing from the heart too. One of my very good friends told me that, as a musician, it's all about passion and soul, and if you don't have that, then what are you really, And so I feel like if you really love what you do, just play what you love, and if somebody doesn't like that, then that sucks for them. But in the end, it matters if you're happy with what you're doing and you're happy with what you're making and playing or covering or whatever musician you are. But open mics and passion, I think that's the main thing.
So how often do you practice, and how long do you practice?
So sometimes, like the past few months, I've actually been pretty busy, or sometimes it's like get up, get in the car, drive a few hours, we're at the show, and sometimes I don't get any practice. But usually, if I'm working on a new song, like writing one, sometimes they come really, really quick, like so fast, or sometimes they take weeks and weeks to finish. Or songs to cover. Some songs are harder than others, like Janis Joplin's songs. She's got such a great range. Sometimes I gotta practice my voice range to fit in there. But I would say I practice at least like 2 to 3 hours a week, at least. sometimes even more, sometimes less. At the beginning, when I was first starting, I practiced all the time, but now I'm a little bit more comfortable behind the guitar and behind the mic, and sometimes I don't practice as much as I need to. But.
So off camera, you were telling me about playing at the farm in Arkansas, and that is super exciting. That place is amazing. So how did you even get that gig?
So, like I said, all about open mics. I went to Moonrock in Rogers, Arkansas, and they have an open mic every Thursday. And that is where I met Marie Williams and Josh Bradshaw. And they told me about an event that they were putting on called Stars and Sauce. And it is where you listen to the music, but you also have these telescopes set up to look at the stars. And it's just a full night of music and stars. And so
that sounds magical.
Yeah. And they ended up saying they wanted me on the bill, and I was like, yeah, I would love to. You know, I never played there before, and so they gave me the VIP tickets. We ended up staying the night, and it was a great experience, you know, because like I told you off camera, Billy Strings and Molly Tuttle, and I think The Devil Makes Three. Some big bluegrass names have played on that stage, and when I was up there, you know, it's a huge stage. It's not small. It's very scary when you see all these people out in front of you, but it's a relief when you can tell they enjoy it. And it was such a great weekend of music, and I'm just very thankful that I happened to be at an open mic at the right time where these people found me and they really wanted me to be there. And I think Stars and Sauce is also going to be put on this year. I think the March, April area maybe. And I think I will also be there for that, and a lot of different names. So I'm very excited.
That's really exciting. Now, let's go back with, you know, I keep going back with you being the age that you are, because there's not that many out there that are as young as you. And also being a female. Now, do you find it harder? You feel like it's harder for you because you're a female and being 15?
So I think definitely, yeah. There's been times where I'll show up at places and, you know, everybody's very dismissive. You know, some people will just look at me and they don't really expect much, or they don't expect much of my equipment or things. Like, they act like I don't know what I'm doing or how to play guitar or how to sing. Like, it's just, sometimes it makes me like, it fuels me to do better. I feel like if somebody ever just seems really dismissive, then it makes me want to prove that I'm better and that I'm not who they think I am. And so there's definitely been issues where people just don't think I'm anything, but then they'll see me and, you know, they'll okay, that's not what we were expecting.
I would have to say that would probably give me just a good feeling.
Yeah. Yes,
See?
definitely. Or like,
Eat your words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't judge so much, you know?
Yeah, right, exactly. Do you have any advice on your writing process for people that are also trying to become writers?
So, that's a hard thing, because when I was first starting out writing, I put up all these boundaries, and I still do sometimes, where I feel like, well, it's got to be this way, it's got to be this way. But now I know that really you can write about anything. Sometimes it doesn't even have to have a meaning. It should just be anything you're thinking, anything you're doing, and sometimes it can have a huge meaning. A lot of writing inspiration I get from Tom Waits. I watched a lot of his interviews. I love Tom Waits, and he inspires me a lot. But I also like to read Charles Bukowski books. Albert Camus and William S. Burroughs are big writers that influence me and prove to me that really you can write about anything. So I usually come up with a chord progression first, and then come up with some lyrics that I think work. But I think it's all about structuring the song. But if you have an idea that comes to mind, I feel like you should always write everything down, because you never want to forget that. So if I think of something, I'll just pull out my phone or something really quick and just jot it down, because I've pieced so many songs together by doing that. And there's a few songs that I wrote like a year ago, and I'll go look back and I'm like, that wasn't too bad. I'll take some lyrics, and you know, and it fits in. Just always write and not be afraid And just write what you think sounds good. Do what you think sounds good, because ultimately that's what matters, I think.
Yeah. And what do you majority write about? I mean, is there something that you kind of stay with?
I'm not sure.
A theme or anything?
I think it
It's
kind of
just
varies. Lou Reed is also a big inspiration for me, because he really, in the most respectful way possible, does not care about what he's writing. I think that's the beauty of it. He wrote what he wanted to, and everybody was like, well, this is weird, you can't do this, but he did, and he challenged that, and he took that boundary down. And I think sometimes for me, I'll just write about different things, even if it's crazy. Or even David Bowie, his song, Oh You Pretty Things, you know, it's like, it'll just, in the beginning of the song, it's like, wake up and shut the curtains and bake some eggs. And it's like just so out of place, but it just fits together. And I feel like, I don't know, my songwriting varies. I've never really stuck to one style, mainly because I don't even know how.
Yeah. Just do what you feel.
Yeah, I think it just changes.
Is there any classes that you take in school that helps you with your writing and your music?
So I actually haven't really been a part of any band or choir classes. This past semester, I was doing it virtual, and I took a creative writing class, and I like to write not only lyrics, but I work on stories and stuff like that. I've always loved writing stories from being very young, and just recently I've actually completed some of my own that I don't really let anybody read them, but I've had a 365-page novel that I've written. Wow. That I'm not saying it's any good, but
still, that's an achievement.
It was a story, and I was very proud of that. And if I went back now and maybe organized it a little better and formatted it, now that I've learned through that creative writing class how to format, and also my teacher just taught me that, you know, you write about anything in these stories, and, you know, and just think and develop these characters really well. And I think that class helped me get out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I like writing more noir type books, or just music-based books. They're not necessarily music, but like realistic fiction type things is what I usually go for, but I explored through poetry and stuff with that class. So I'm very happy I took that class.
Well, that's awesome. So let's get to your next song, and it is original. Tell me a little bit about this song that you wrote.
So this song I wrote, actually, it's called 350125, that is the name. But this song is more of a hidden meanings song. For me, it basically puts all of my favorite songs and musicians in the song. So 350125 is actually what is said at the very beginning of a song called Warsaw by Joy Division. And they yell it out in the beginning, and that's where I took that from. And then there's Salinger and John Cale. That's mentioned. John Cale is a member of the Velvet Underground. He's one of my favorites. He's a big inspiration on me writing as well. Salinger is a author. The first book that I ever really got into was Catcher in the Rye. And there's another mention of John Cale by saying, You Know More Than I Know. That is John Cale's, one of his biggest songs is You Know More Than I Know. That really means something to me. And then in the beginning, when it mentions my friend dressed in white, stuff like that, big bulky rings, those are more Lou Reed inspired lyrics, stuff like that. And I think it's just more of like a hidden meaning song. And it's one I wrote actually a year ago that I started out writing, and I didn't really think anything of it, and I revisited it a couple months ago, and I was like, man, this is a really good song, I think. So I ended up playing it out, and I had a good reaction. So
wow, okay. Well, we're going to get to that, and we will be right back.
Feeling happy and feeling fine, living far tomorrow, gonna be alright. Here comes my friend dressed in white. But I'm shoes and big bulky rings. He's got an eye patch in his arms and a sling, and I hit him downtown in New York. To my apartment, 3 stories high, 1,000 people.
And we are back. That is such a lovely song. I mean, your voice is just so beautiful.
Thank
and
you.
Again, it's like, wow, that is coming out of her. You know, so it's really, really cool. Again, to have you be the first, young person on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get to etiquette and just some stories you may have. So what do you feel is the most important thing about having good etiquette?
I think as a musician, you always want to be respectful to everybody, because I've shown up in places where some people will automatically start leaving because there's music and it's very different, and you just gotta be respectful. Showing up on time, always show up on time. I think that really proves who you are as a musician, but as a person to the venue and to the people that either came to watch you or just spontaneously are there. And even if you don't have a full set list picked out, something in mind that you know what you're going to play and know what you're going to do, and just being into it. I mean, are you there for just the money? Are you there just to be there? Or are you there because you really love what you're doing and you want to share your covers, but you also want to share songs that you've written and promote yourself? And I think that being respectful and just putting passion into it, because people can really feel when you're into something, and when you're not into something, it just gives a bad vibe to everybody. I feel like I've seen some musicians that don't seem like they're all in it, like it doesn't mean as much to them, but you see some that are like, this is their life, like without music, they have no idea where they would be. And I feel like those are two different types of people and two different types of shows.
Right. So do you have any stories about any good experiences and bad experiences you've had while playing?
So there's a lot of good experiences. I've never had any extremely negative feedback at places, which is nice. I mean, you get the occasional heckle from somebody in the crowd, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that much when you have such overwhelmingly positive feedback. There's a place in Joplin called Old Broadway Club. That is one of my favorite places to play, for sure. There's so many supportive people there, and I'm very thankful that Adam, the owner, had me out there. But people in the crowd that I got to meet at that place, they like more of the 70s punk. They like what I really like to listen to, so I can bring some of that old stuff out. And some of these people have actually met some of my idols, and it's just crazy getting to talk to them and knowing their experiences with these people that I look up to, and knowing how just crazy are people I even listen to, like an extreme one, for example. Somebody I know, there's a old singer called Gigi Allen who's kind of notorious, infamous, not the greatest role model, but a staple in punk music, and a lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him. He's very controversial, but I got to meet somebody who actually drove him to his last show in Joplin, Missouri.
Oh my gosh.
So knowing like what was that like, and how crazy. And I know somebody that was also at that show who ended up chasing him out of town because he stole all the money that they had. Just crazy things like that. And there's some weird experiences, like just people that are just give off bad vibes, You always want to be careful, especially just anybody in the music industry, but especially women. I feel like those can be creepy people and very weird things that go on, especially I'm younger, and a lot of people don't realize that right away, and they may try to come off in a certain way, and I have to explain to them, I'm a lot younger than you think I am.
Sorry. Flattered, but no.
Thankfully, I've had a pretty positive feedback in the music industry so far. And obviously, as I grow and as things happen, I will get hate, and I think that's what comes along, and things will always change. But so far, I've had a pretty good experience with everybody. But there's always going to be.
That's awesome. So, is there anything that that you have kind of taken on yourself? Like you've seen other musicians do it, and like, oh, well, I want to adopt that into how I perform.
When I was first starting out, I wouldn't talk very much, I'd be like, play song, be quiet, play the next song, and I've learned a lot recently, and I'm still getting there, getting out of my comfort zone. The engaging the audience, really talking to them, even just making stupid little jokes just to get the guy in the corner to chuckle, and just talking. I think that's very important because it breaks that ice with the audience at a restaurant or wherever you are playing, and it engages them more and makes them more interested. So when you talk to them or ask them if they have any requests, and play them for them if you're able to, it just brings everybody in, makes them more involved. And I've seen so many musicians do that. For instance, Jenna and Tony, they're a band from Northwest Arkansas. I saw one of their shows, and they just talk, they engage, and they just do all these things. And when you do that, I feel like I said, you're getting the attention of everybody, and I think that's what I've taken from them the most.
Well, that's awesome. Now, is there anything that you just your mouth dropped because you couldn't believe those performers did that in a negative way? Like, are you serious?
That's a very good question. I don't think I've had a experience where I was so surprised because what they did was disrespectful or bad or anything. But I think there's just been some times where these people, they play their music, and maybe it's just not what you're expecting, and it's like, wow, like, that's crazy, like, that person is playing like that, or the music that they're playing and that they're really passionate about. And I think it's amazing that all types of people will play all kinds of music. Like, there was a place I went to recently where a few people got up and they played this electronic but goth and just punk and just way out of the norm. Like, there wasn't that many people that liked it, and that's just how it's gonna be, but you could tell they loved it, and that's what they wanted to do, and I loved that, and I thought that was awesome that they wanted to do that. But I don't know if there's been any musicians that I've seen that have done anything like, wow, why would you do that? I think there's a few places maybe where they don't show up on time, like they're way late, or they're just so out of it, like either intoxicated or on something where they're just not able to play, and it's not a great experience when they're half on the stage and they don't really know what they're doing and it doesn't really sound that great, and
they're not being professional.
Yeah, I guess that's definitely what I would say.
Now, what's your favorite show that you've ever played?
My favorite show.
And how old were you?
Okay, so The Farm was definitely one of my favorites. That's when I was 14. That was a few months ago. Definitely one of my favorites because such a big opportunity. I got to meet the musicians from Arkansas, which is bluegrass, and they've got to play with a lot of people, and they're great. And I got to meet them, and just such a huge stage. And when you're up there, it's like, wow, it feels like you can just see the whole world from there. It's crazy. Old Broadway Club, like I said, in Joplin, Missouri. Great experiences there. TJ Leland's in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Everybody there is so supportive. And also...
That's why it was your favorite, because they were just so supportive.
And they just want to hear anything. And Indian Springs Brewing Company in Neosho, I play there every Wednesday. There's actually an open mic that I run with somebody that also plays music. His name is Aaron Kojarak. And we kind of run that together, and I have met so many amazing people there. And it's just one of my favorite. It's like a family. It's like a place that you play there so much, and it just becomes family.
Right.
And I've been going there for about 2 years now, and I think that was one of the places that also helped get me out of my comfort zone and really lift me out. And like Aaron Kojarak also runs that. He has an album out called it's Fantastical and the Whatnots is the band. You can find it on all streaming platforms. Space Arson is the album. But that was the first time I was in the studio. I got to be featured on this track, Paranormal Genius.
Nice.
And I think I was 13 when I did that, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a little bit ago, but and that was all from an open mic, just meeting somebody there that wanted me there. And I think Indian Springs and Neosho, great place, very family friendly, and just everyone's so supportive. And it's like a big family there.
So what do you hope for yourself in the next, say, even 3 years period? Because I mean, you're on a fast track already. Just bam, it seems like.
I hope to produce more music. I would love to obviously keep writing my own music, working with other people on music. I've got a few projects I'm working on now that hopefully will come out with an EP or an album and see how that goes. I just hope to just be playing music, whether I be really popular, whether everybody stops listening to me. Just travel. When I get 18, you know, I hope to travel with family and friends just around the country, or even in the future just around the world, just to play my music for different people and see other people's music. And I think that's what really matters to me, is just networking, meeting different musicians and working with them, and hopefully just keep continuing that and playing everywhere. And just
Now, do you have any shows coming up in Springfield at all? Or when's your next show?
I have one at Mother's. I think that is in April. I may be wrong, but you can find that on my page. But I am playing at Mother's. I've also played at Hold Fast Brewing. I played there for their New Year's Eve just this past. And those are the main places that I've played in Springfield so far. I'm hoping to venture out. I think there might be a few new dates on my list.
Yeah. Just check your page.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
But
She's a busy girl.
But I'm hoping to explore more here. I like it out here in Springfield, and I think the musicians here are awesome, and I'd love to work with some of them more. And
Well, that's awesome. Okay, so is there any other kind of advice or any questions that I might have not asked that you might want to just share?
I think just my only really advice is just, for any musician really, is just play from the heart, you know, and don't let anybody walk over you. And people will walk over you in the music industry. That's how it is, you know. It's mean out there, especially in those bigger cities. They're fighting over each other. They're running each other over. But there's got to be parts where you really need to support other musicians and just work with them. And I think that's how you build such a great bond, and that's how you grow. I feel like if you work with others and don't just limit everybody else and limit yourself, and playing what you want to play and just doing what you want to do, but being professional about it, and just being who you want to be as an artist. Anything, whether it be the music you're making or how you present yourself, just do it the way you want to. And I think that's what really matters, is don't be what anybody else wants you to be. Just be what you want to do. Do what you want to do.
Great advice. Okay, so we're going to get to your last song, and it's going to be playing us out. Tell us a little bit about this one.
So this is another one that I wrote. This one kind of just came spontaneously. I was sitting there and I ended up coming up with a guitar part for it, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is more country, and like I've been listening to more Sierra Farrell, Charlie Crockett, Nick Shoulders recently, so it's definitely got that vibe, that inspiration. And the song is about nothing I've ever experienced. It's more of the song like could be from a woman's perspective, and how she was with somebody and that they didn't realize how good it was with this person until it was gone. And so the first part of the song is like they're in denial, like they don't need that person anymore, they don't care. But then at the end it's like they're mad and they're upset, but they know what they lost kind of deal. And it's just kind of a more, nothing too serious, but it was just one that I kind of came up with a story for it right away, and I was very happy. It's one of my favorite songs. I think it's one of the best songs I've ever written so far. So.
And it's going to be on your album.
It will be on my album,
That's
yes.
awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so for people that want to find you on the interwebs, where would they find you?
So Alyssa Galvan Music, that's on Facebook. It's also on Instagram. I don't post as much on Instagram. It's mainly Facebook, but I will be working on putting more things on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube, Alyssa Galvan. I need to spread more and post more on different platforms, but Facebook is where you can find all my events, see videos of me, and things like that.
Well, awesome. I want to thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you.
And it has been very fun. I would love to have you back when
Of
you
course.
get that album going.
Oh,
That
yes.
would be so cool to have you back and to talk about the album. But thank you again. And
Thank
guys,
you.
thanks for tuning in. And make sure you go like her page because she is very, very talented. And go see one of her shows. Until next time, guys, you have been watching Behind the Scene. Talk to you later.